Hello and welcome to the next video that I post on my channel. I record this video for my students who are now going to write their bachelor and master thesis with me, but it may also help you in understanding what is a good topic for your thesis and what your supervisor, he or she, will agree with. And first of all, I want to tell you that your supervisor is on your side and he or she tries to support you, and there is a reason why you selected the supervisor, because you have something from the supervisor, or you have expectations, or you know that the person is familiar with this topic, or is sympathetic, or is empathetic. So it depends on what are the reasons why you selected a certain supervisor. But the supervisor also wants to help you and help you to make your first discovery in the best way, because your bachelor thesis is your first academic work, or pre-work we call it in Austria, and master thesis is the first academic full work, and you have to discover something new. And your supervisor has to understand what is the motivation behind it. But first, you have to understand on your own what is your inspiration. Why do you want to investigate this topic? It is not as easy as you might think. Sometimes you want to do it because it is easy to do, or because there is something that you would like to tell to this world, because you observed something, but it's very hard to put it into words. That's why try to explain to yourself what drives your interest. What is exactly interesting in the topic that you would like to investigate, because if it is interesting to you, it may be interesting to other people, but you have to be able to explain it not only to yourself, but also to other people, why it is important. And try to do it with your supervisor, because sometimes you come with an idea and your supervisor will tell you it has been already investigated, and then you feel a kind of restricted, because it is something you wanted to do, but it has been investigated. So should I do it or should I not do it? And the reason is that your supervisor doesn't know what exactly inspires you to investigate it. And he or she just sees the topic and thinks about, okay, it has been done already, like satisfaction or motivation. The concept of motivation is, I don't know, 70 years old. The topic of satisfaction is 50 years old. So we know a lot about this topic. Why should we make another investigation? But if you explain why exactly you want to do it, he or she may come up with a better way to be more precise and to investigate what you want to investigate. Here I want to share with you the advice that I have been given when I was writing my doctoral dissertation. One of the professors from our cohort, he came to me and said, Eugene, my best advice for you is to be ready to change your topic. And I didn't know why, but I observed that many people who come with a topic and are not ready to change it, even to the slightest one, they usually don't finish their PhD. Sometimes you discover that something has indeed been investigated, or there is nothing new or novel in what you want to do. So be ready, and even be ready to change it completely. And I changed the topic of my dissertation 3 times before I came up with a final one that became my dissertation topic. The second advice from me is there is a freedom of research in the Constitution of Germany and Austria, and I assume in your country too. It means you can do whatever you want, and nobody can restrict you. And if you say, I would like to investigate this thing, even your supervisor, if he or she agrees or disagrees with you, cannot tell you don't do it. You have the constitutional freedom, assumedly also in your country, and that is why you can always do what you want. So if your supervisor suggests you to make some changes, it is not because he or she wants to limit your freedom, but actually because he or she wants to help you to be more precise and to make a real contribution. Remember this one. And here I also have an example. If I have an example, yeah. A student of mine contacted me about 2 years ago. She wanted to investigate satisfaction. And I told her, you know, satisfaction is not a new topic. It has been investigated many times. There are plenty of theories, measurement tools. Why job satisfaction? And it took, I think, about 2 months of conversation, because it was not every day, let's say once a week, until I understood what actually drives it. And what was the motivation was that she was dissatisfied with her work. And we started elaborating on this. What is the reason? And the reason was the supervisor, because he or she did not support her fully, and sometimes over-supported her fully. Kind of micromanagement. And then we came to topic supervision. And then we came to topic, when is it good, when is it bad? And then we came up with a theory. It was the job demands and resources model. And in the job demands and resources model, supervision is being seen as the job resource, something that's supporting you. But in some cases, it might not be true. For instance, if you like to work free and don't want to be micromanaged or don't want to be over-supervised. And this led to a very interesting topic that She wanted to investigate actually what are the types of different supervision and what is their impact on the satisfaction, which is precise and we don't know much about it. So it became a very interesting topic just after I understood what her motivation is and I could suggest some theories, and she delved deep into it and she found interesting things to investigate. My second suggestion is if you don't know what to start with a theory. You need a strong theory and find one that inspires you. There are many theories in this world, but I assume there is at least one or two that really make you burn for what you want to do, like the one by Kahneman and Tversky, the prospect theory, or some aspects of the prospect theory like framing, or maybe you're interested in psychological distance theory, or maybe you're interested in the resource-based view or dynamic capabilities view. So first of all, check the theory quality first, because there are many papers written and not all of them in the top journals. So I recommend you to watch one of my previous videos on what theory is not, and just to know what is a theory, what is not a theory, and then always check the good journals if you want to find something interesting and try to look for newer journals. Then you will find a very interesting theory, and if you have something that interests you, then you can start looking at your problem from different angle. What is then new if we apply this theory to my observation? What is different? How can the theory assumptions be applied? Because theories have different assumptions. For instance, the theories from behavioral economics would suggest that people are boundedly rational, and from classical economics would suggest that people are rational. Can you apply this rationality to motivation? Can you apply bounded rationality to motivation? So probably the latter one would work, and so on. What are the key statements of the theory? How can we apply it? And here I want to give an example of a student of mine from the last year, and he wanted to investigate the ESGs. I think this is the expression of Sustainable Development Goals in a firm, and he wanted to investigate how in a firm they can be implemented. It's very broad, as you can imagine. I said the same I said previously. So what's new and why should we? Yes, of course, everybody wants to apply them. We know there are costs. So what exactly do we want to investigate? And when talking about the theories, he took one of the theories we were talking about in my strategic management class. This was the path dependency theory. And the path dependency theory says that each next decision is limited by the previous decision. So each time you decide to go to a certain school, you will get a certain class. Let's say you'll be good in chemistry. And then after you finish your school, you will go to university and you can guess which faculty would it be. So most likely something related to chemistry. And when you finish university, where will you work? Most likely you will work in the field of chemistry and not in the field of, let's say, law or economics and so on. It means each decision restricts the next one. And at the end, a path appears where people, where organizations cannot deviate from it. It's called the lock-in state. If you want to know more, read the paper by David, 1985, or Zido, Schreik, and Koch, 2009. They describe very well how the theory works. What is interesting in the theory, when he started elaborating on it, that there are drivers, certain factors that make this path appearing faster. And if you think of it, we actually sometimes want to have a path. For instance, we would like that firms switch to sustainable development goals and don't go back. As you know, now in Austria, we have populists coming in, getting more and more voices, and if populists come to power, they will say, we don't need it, there is no climate change, and whatever they usually say. And it means that firms, if all of a sudden populists come to power, may go back to non-green, non-sustainable strategies. So how can we put them onto a path? What can be the impact of these drivers to actually put them on the path and remain in this path? So we wanted actually the opposite. We wanted them to stay in a path. And we came up immediately with two examples. For instance, in a firm, you can switch to green electricity. You just need to select a different power supplier, and that was it. Or you can install the solar panels on your roof. But if politics changes and everybody, let's say, starts saying that it is not supported and we don't have any climate change, then switching to a different power supplier is much easier than dismounting the solar panels from your roof terrace. It means one of these items, it relates to this driver technical relatedness, would be better for firms to stick to this path and not go back. So investing into something tangible that you cannot just dismount or will be very costly to dismount will put firms on this path and they will not go back. And he investigated what are the, or he wanted to investigate what are the factors that may put people on this path. So as you see from theory, his topic became much more precise and much more interesting. The next suggestion that I have is try to limit your work to a specific method. It is good if you are jumping between too many options, you have too many things that you are interested in and you don't know what to start with, or you cannot select one of possible topics, you have 3 of them and you don't know which one is better, or if you don't know what is the best way out of some to continue to investigate a topic. I had this issue with one of my students, and he was jumping from different topics. He wanted to investigate different types of I think of employment and blue collar, white collar employees, and motivation and job satisfaction was too much. And then after 2 months of discussions, I just told him, okay, you have to, I suggest I limit you in something and we'll see what is going to happen. And I said, please make as your methodology this creatures experiment. I could have taken any method, but I decided to go for this one because I have a tutorial on YouTube. It would be easier to try it out without having additional conversations. And it immediately made his topic very clear because 2 or 3 aspects he was also interested at, they were not able, very hard to investigate using this method. So he focused on only one topic, and within this topic, he focused on very specific aspect that he could test in a comparative way because this creatures experiments is a comparative method. And it made really cool topic, and he made a great publication, this doctoral student, and this publication has been published, which is just great. So each method has its strengths and weaknesses, and the strengths and weaknesses, if you project them on your topic, will also restrict it and make your decision simpler. So if you don't know what to do, just select any method. It can be causal mapping if you're like more qualitative, quantitative studies, or it can be within subject, within group experiment design, or discrete choice experiment, whatever you decide, just drop a coin, pick one method, and see what you can do. And you cannot imagine this limitation will actually help you much more than going broader. The next suggestion I want to do is try to replicate a study. If you have a study that inspires you, you heard about the paper and you think, wow, it was great. Or if you have a study that you disagree with, somebody did a study, but you think, no, it cannot be like this. I don't believe it. Or you don't believe the study will work in your domain, for instance, in banking, or it will not work in Austria, then it is a good idea to make replication study. But think of the following. In a replication study, you have to include additional variables. Because if you assume that this relationship will not work in Austria, there should be a reason why it should not work in Austria. Let's say the power distance, because the power distance in Austria is high and in Germany is low. So if you assume it is a power distance, then you can collect data in Germany and Austria, compare them, and if you find the differences and you ask about the power distance, there are questions based on, let's say, Hofstede or some other, Tadis and White, I think, also wrote a paper about it, then you can really find out what is then different. And don't stick to the study under the arguments, no one tested in Austria. Why should it be different in Austria? There are many studies on motivation. Why should the motivation be different in Austria than in Germany, than the United States, and somewhere else? If there is a reason, yes, do it. But if there is no reason, it's not an argument. Nobody did it in a bank. Who cares? But they did it by insurance company, also financial sector. If it works there, why shouldn't it work in bank? Only if there is a reason why it should not work in a bank or in Austria or in Tyrol, then there is a reason to run a study. Otherwise, it's just a boring, non-interesting study nobody will be interested in. So don't be driven by the argument, I want to test it in my federal state, but be driven by the argument, I want to test my federal state because I see there is a reason why there should be a difference. And I think finally, my final comment is keep reading. If none of the options above have helped you, then probably you just don't have enough information. And if none of the previous suggestions works for you, keep reading academic papers, especially the new one, to see what new things are happening. You don't need to read it completely. Read the abstract, read the discussion section, just to see what is new, what is now happening, what are the future studies, what do they suggest would be interesting. Keep reading what inspires you. It can be different books, and I will give you in a minute an example when I was reading a book that inspired me and helped me make my doctoral thesis topic. And keep observing, especially the funny situations, situations you feel uncomfortable, situations you feel weird. This weirdness is an indication that there is something to investigate, that something runs not as everybody would think it should run. And here I want to give you my own example. When I started my doctoral program, it had a topic. It had a topic of dynamic capabilities. So we all had to write something about dynamic capabilities. And within the first year, we have to come up with a very precise topic, what exactly we want to investigate. And I have been jumping between different topics following the suggestion by the professor who suggested me to be ready to change the topic. I tried one topic, professor didn't like it. Some other topic, they also didn't like it for a reason. They explained why it wouldn't work or why it should be done in a different way, but it was not what I wanted to do. And while thinking on this topic, I was reading a book about emotions. It was the book by Paul Ekman, Emotions Revealed. And I wanted to read it just because I had fun. I wanted to understand myself better. I wanted to understand emotions better. And then all of a sudden I understood, wow, if I'm so interested in the topic of emotions, why don't combine it with the topic of dynamic capabilities? And indeed, there are dynamic managerial capabilities or capabilities of a manager to cope with change. And they should be impacted by emotions. And I started looking, there were only two papers about emotions and dynamic capabilities, pretty vague, nobody did it, conceptual. So I decided to run an experiment about it. And yeah, I had to read more, but once I came with a topic that I'm still working on from time to time with the topic of emotions and related states and dynamic capabilities. I hope it helps you. I wish you all the best, and let me know in the comment section if I can help you. Bye bye.